カンタスファウンダーズミュージアム、ブリスベンの西1100キロのところにあるカンタス航空の創業の地ミュージアムです。ロングリーチに着くとミュージアムが見えています。屋外展示の飛行機が並んでますね。訪問した12月、亜熱帯の気候なので暑かったです。ジャンボ2階にあったキャプテンクックラウンジ、ここの展示の一つのハイライトです。今回はシニアキュレーターのサラさんが案内してくれました。
Welcome to the Captain Cook Lounge. This is a replica of the 747 First Class Cocktail Lounge that would have featured in our 747-200 that we have here at Qantas Founders Museum. So this was specifically for first class passengers, so they could pop upstairs to first class, have a couple of drinks and enjoy themselves. We have this reproduction. It has been constructed exactly like the original Captain Cook. Even though it's an aircraft, it looks like a boat. There's even pictures of the fish under the sea. It was quite curious.And it is something that people love seeing here at the Qantas Founders Museum. Welcome to the Qantas uniform collection. So we have uniforms that date from the 1940s right on through to the 2000s. So the very first uniforms were very military in their look. They were manufactured by David Jones in Sydney, Australia.And you can see that they look like a nurse's uniform or a military uniform in those post-war years. Then into the 50s and 60s, the hemlines became shorter and other fabrics were used instead of heavy wool. More polyesters were used. And then into the 1970s, these very, very bright Pucci uniforms were designed, and these were fabulous because they were not wool, they were polyester, which meant that the flight attendants could wash them and dry them quickly when they were doing long-haul trips. And they're very, very bright. So they go with the Captain Cook Lounge. This here is a men's uniform. It's called the Fiji Fun Shirt, and this was designed specifically for flights to Hawaii and Fiji in the 1970s as well. Very, very groovy. And then into the 1980s is when famous designer Yves Saint Laurent was commissioned to design these very slick and sophisticated uniforms that have great tailoring, beautiful suits, and then also this really interesting sundress as well, which was designed for the Australian climate as well. Then into the 80s, an Australian duo called Harry Hu designed these very, very 80s power suits. And then into the 1990s and 2000s, designer Peter Morrissey and Aboriginal designers Ballaringi collaborated on these beautiful Aboriginal designs which were worn for many, many years. So we are in a part of the museum called the Joe Shannon Room, and Joe Shannon was a wonderful local Longreach personality who helped found the museum. Sadly, Joe passed away a few years ago, but this area is a legacy and a homage to him. In this room, we tell the story of the planes coming to Australia, the 707 leaving the UK, and all of the people that worked on getting it airworthy before it arrived in the early 2000s. And here is an image of the super constellation being shipped from Townsville Port in pieces, where it will then get trucked to us and be restored. We also have lots of art in our collection as well. This is a beautiful painting of the 707 flying into Sydney as it's come from overseas. One of the favourite things we have in the museum are these beautiful selections of Barbies that have been created by a former flight attendant called Sarah Ambrett. And they depict every single uniform since the 1930s and 40s right to the present day. Even a beautiful kimono that was worn on a cherry blossom flight to Japan in 1959. And so we can see here all of the uniforms, including all of the male wait staff, right through to the captains, the people loading, all of the luggage, the engineers, and my favourite, during the COVID years, the PPE that the flight attendants had to wear to make sure that everyone kept safe. So we are very lucky. We have a number of 747 Rolls-Royce engines in the collection, and the museum is the only place in Australia that you can stand in the engine, in the air park. We can't step in this one, but it gives you an amazing sense of scale of just how huge and powerful these engines were. We have 7 full-scale aircraft in our museum, and this is the earliest. This is the reproduction of the Avro 504K. That was the very first aircraft that Qantas flew as part of its commercial operations. Now, this is a replica. There are only 2 replicas in the world. This one here, and another one that is in the Qantas headquarters in Sydney. Well, welcome to Molly. She is our original Model T Ford. She's nearly 100 years old. She looks pretty good for someone nearly 100. And she is fully operational. We still drive her around town. In fact, a number of years ago, she went all the way from Longreach to Darwin to recreate the original journey of Fish and McGuinness in 1919 as part of the air race. She still operates, and we love her dearly.
You got it all inside of you. Feel it to be true. And when you dance, I'm in the groove.
突然雨が降ってきて、屋根に当たる音が聞こえてまいります。
Concerned at the time, those airliners that were doing things first and generating a lot of publicity, were automatically given the name City of Canberra, which of course happened with this aircraft when it arrived in 1959. Would you believe there were some 3 707s in a space of 6 weeks that were given the name City of Canberra? Now, in relation to the early history of the 707 here in Australia, they were instrumental in bringing many.
ロッキードスーパーコンステレーションは美しい姿で残されています。
And it was a major option in 2014 to rid the Manila Air Park of all aircraft. Qantas Founders Museum actually got word of the auction. They made a successful bid, and then it took 2 years, would you believe, from 2014 to 2016 to get the belly and the wheels out of the ground. Then the aircraft was freighted by ship from Manila through to Townsville and then low-loaded from Townsville through to Long Beach. Flight pass.
ボーイング707は 138B の初期型が残されています。
Was now entering the jet age, and it was the 707 that actually introduced to the flying public what was known as jet lag. Now, the 707 was considerably faster than So this is the bathroom in here, which is beautifully fitted out.
Oh, I see, yeah, so spare seat and all that.
So this is your main dining room ahead.
Wow.
Yeah.
さていよいよ空の女王ジャンボジェットの見学です。
The 747 Classic. It's even more commonly known as the Jumbo and even more affectionately known as the Queen of the Skies. Landings and takeoffs. It had actually flown for some 23 years, during which time, excuse me, it had actually carried
タラップで上がるのもいいですね。カンガルーマークも近くで見ると大きいです。当時はインフライトエンターテインメントがありませんでしたから、前方にあったスクリーンで映画などを見ていました。この辺りからファーストクラスのエリアです。座席のバルクヘッド部分にあるカゴはベイビーバシネットです。
The Captain Cook Lounge installation, just on the inside of the glass doors as you go into the main museum hall. Well, that installation is an exact replica of what you would have seen upstairs in the Captain Cook Lounge. Let's do that.
Thank you. Inside the cockpit, there are over 900 dials, switches, knobs and buttons. Fortunately, it is. Yes. What we're now going to do is make our way down the stairs, all right? Qantas would be immediately contacted. They would then locate the next 747-200 series flying to Singapore and attach a spare engine. Now the spare engine does not impact on the valve. The engine has been removed. That in fact is where Qantas manufactured its very first 9 aircraft. 8 of the de Havilland DH. 今年3月16日から9月22日まで草間弥生展が開かれるんですよ。
Nothing.